Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the VAR You Serious podcast, episode 19. We are back again this week. And, Dad, big week of football, exciting week for us as well, especially yesterday. How you feeling?
Good. Yeah, a lot of exciting games this week, at least, for some folks who are outside the Premier League competitions. This episode is going to be pretty heavy on Manchester City, so I hope you guys all want to talk about them.
Yes, they've been in the news a lot, but I had to point out first, Dad, how good did it feel with Kai Havertz scoring the winner against Chelsea yesterday? I don't know, the fan in me came out a little bit right there. I loved seeing that point. He was pointing at the badge, celebrating. How did it make you feel?
It's great. I mean, obviously, we didn't need the goal to go through, but it was definitely the cherry on top. I get it. These players, they move on from clubs, they're sold from clubs, and I don't think he loses sleep over it. But I'm sure Havertz, it kind of felt good to score that goal against his old team.
It was a dagger in the heart, and he's celebrated against them before too, so I'm sure he enjoyed it thoroughly. But anyways, Dad, we're going to get right into things. Everyone, we have a lot on the plate today. We'll be talking Carabao Cup, then Underdogs of the week, then our VAR You Serious moment as always, and then to wrap it up, we'll be doing parting shots as some quick fire questions. So let's get right into it, Dad. The Carabao Cup final is set. Arsenal City. First thoughts. I mean, big match.
Well, obviously a bigger deal, I think, for Arsenal than City. City has won plenty of hardware over the last 5 years. And this is Arsenal's first final in 5 or 6 years for any kind of, trophy. So while, I mean, Carabao Cup is probably for most people not as exciting as the FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League, and so on. Hey, a final is a final. It's Wembley. There's a trophy at stake. So it's exciting. Can't wait to watch it there in March.
And I mean, Dad, to your point, Jose Mourinho famously, I think, was quoted about the League Cup saying how it was one of the most important trophies. I think it was the first trophy he won with Chelsea, actually, in his first tenure. And he talked about how important it was to continue winning because your team gets a taste of silverware before the end of the season, because the final is kind of 2/3 of the way through instead of right at the end, right? So do you think that makes a big impact on the rest of the season for both of these teams?
I think it does for me.
Yeah.
As a fan, I'm confident, but I'm nervous. And so I do think that this game is probably more important for Arsenal and Arsenal's fans because there's been such a drought. I think, if City were to lose this final against Arsenal, they wouldn't be pleased, but I think they would probably be more resilient, bounce back quicker than Arsenal. That's just kind of my gut. What do you think?
I mean, I was going to say, though, don't you feel like with the new squad that Pep has kind of assembled, it doesn't feel like the City of old that kind of have the experience, know what they're doing in this situation to get the job done, right? Like, I mean, there's a few guys who have experienced it in there, but it's not like the team where you have De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, company at the back, Ederson in goal. Like, the spine isn't really there as much to me, if that makes sense. Whereas I think Arsenal's spine has been preparing for so long for this moment that they need to take it, like you said.
Right. I mean, there's been turnover at City for sure, but the one person that hasn't changed is Pep Guardiola. And, Pep knows how to win trophies. Obviously Arsenal very competitive with City the last few years. So it's going to be a great match. And, there's a lot of people expecting Arsenal and City they'll meet in this final and they could meet in the Champions League. And obviously they still have to play up in Manchester for their second Premier League match this season. So isn't there a chance they could play like 3 times in 4 weeks or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, they could be playing 6 games before the end of the season, theoretically, right?
They could. And so I think both clubs, while it is a final, it is the least important final that they could both be in this season. And listen, you got to get over it and you got to, be like a goldfish and move on immediately because you've got other big games to play. You can't win all with one game and you shouldn't allow yourself to lose them all based on one game.
No, I don't think either team should sway it too far, but like you said, I think Arsenal needs it in the sense of, our record or Arsenal's record against City has been better, unbeaten in the last 6 against City, including the last time they played at Wembley. Arsenal won on penalties in the Community Shield final. So I think this is Arteta's and the team's moment to really stake claim. It's the student and the teacher thing that everyone always talks about between these two, right? With Arteta and Guardiola, is can Arteta really stick it to Guardiola in a major final, right? Because it is a major final.
It is absolutely. It's bigger than the Community Shield. I mean, I think. And
Yeah,
so, you know, every kind of step up the ladder or rung that he's climbing, Arteta matters. And so absolutely. I mean, I still say even with the turnover at City that Arsenal, it's going to be more in their head than it is going to be in City. I think this
yeah.
is going to be a much bigger springboard victory for Arsenal than it would be for City. That's just my own thoughts.
No, and I agree with you there. I think Guardiola brings the presence of knowing how to win, regardless of who's in the team. And yeah, he's going to be telling his team that not to get too high or too low, whatever happens. But Arsenal have been so stable. They looked so stable in that Chelsea game as well. A lot of the pundits were saying weird things like Arsenal have work to do in the second half. Arsenal need to come out more. Chelsea was the one that needed a goal, and they were playing a 5 at the back to start the match. So, I think Arsenal is so confident in themselves right now. They need to take that forward. Whereas City have been so up and down, and you can kind of see it in some of the things we'll be talking about later as well, whether it's emotional or on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about City's victory over Newcastle in their semifinal, I think an objective observer would think it was a better quality win
Mhm.
because of the scoreline, because of the style City played. Obviously, Newcastle is not as good as Chelsea, so Arteta and Arsenal kind of had to have a different strategy. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's an argument that, at least as far as the Carabao Cup specifically is considered, that, City probably are feeling a little more confident based on their win versus Arsenal's win, even though a win is a win is a win.
Yeah, I think all that being said, I think the thing we're really going towards here is City can really score more at free will. I think their creativity and what they have going forward is a lot different than what Arsenal have. So if Arsenal go down early in this game, I think that's a problem. We did go down early against City at home earlier in the season, and we came back and drew, so that was a good sign of resilience. But I think Arsenal to win this are probably going to need to go ahead first to really implement the game plan they want to play to be solid and kind of stay within the realm of what they're comfortable with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Um, I just think when thinking about big picture, the fact that Arsenal are still in the running for 4 trophies, um, I think if Arsenal win this Carabao Cup final, they will win multiple trophies this year, 2 or 3. I
Yeah.
think if they lose this Carabao Cup final, probably only 1 trophy, and I'm not sure which one that would be exactly. That's just my
Yeah.
my gut instinct.
I think that's a good gut feeling, but I think that's the magic of the season. This could be the start of something really special for Arsenal or for Manchester City, who are also still in the running for all 4 trophies that you can
Yep,
get within the
yep.
season. So really big kickboard for both teams. I do want to say Newcastle did not have Joe Linton or Bruno Guimaraes in this second leg. big miss for them in their midfield, both of their best midfielders, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
Tonali was in, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. The finals, Arsenal City. So we'll definitely be watching in about a month, and maybe we'll do some sort of watch along since it's the first final in 6 years for Arsenal, Dad.
I'll be doing my best to watch. I don't know what day of the week it is, but
Hopefully a
gotta
Saturday or
it's
something.
gotta be a weekend, right? It's gotta be a weekend.
Yeah, no, it's Saturday or Sunday for sure at Wembley. Can't miss it. Hope you guys will be watching as well. Let us know what you think about that upcoming matchup. But, Dad, we are on to one of our favorite segments, as always, Underdogs of the Week. I'm going to let you go ahead and take the first one here. There's some interesting ones, I think, this past week.
Yeah, and I think, my underdog of the week is barely an underdog, I think, in some ways. But I think it's worth mentioning Brentford beating Aston Villa 1-0 this last weekend on the road at
Yeah.
Villa Park, which has been a almost impossible place to win lately. And I'm well aware of the fact that Brentford are 7th and Villa are 3rd, so it's not a big underdog situation. But Brentford, this is a team that needs big wins like this because they're clearly going for a European spot,
Totally.
whatever spot that ends up, Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, like whatever it is. And
They're built for it, clearly.
this is a really big, sends a big message. Villa have lost. This is their second loss in a row after, my God, I don't think they lost in like 20 something matches at Villa Park.
Yeah.
So good for Brentford, slight underdog, gives them momentum. And now Villa, they're kind of getting tripped up just a little bit, and at home, no less. So not a great underdog, but I think an underdog nonetheless.
I mean, Dad, I'd argue it's a huge underdog. Most people at the beginning of the season had Brentford, if not in 20th, in the bottom three of the relegation zone, or at least in the relegation fight. And I mean, we're talking about a team here who, as you said, could be in the top five, beating in the current moment a title contender. I mean, Villa going into this match, I think we're 4 points behind Arsenal, 5 points behind Arsenal. Um, I mean, all that being said, like Brentford have overcome a lot this season. And to your point, I think a couple episodes ago, we could be looking at an underdog of the season right here with Brentford. No one expected them to be doing what they're doing right now. And that's a class win. They were a man down in that game, Dad. Did you mention that?
I did not. So that
That was
makes
that
it bigger.
whole half of football. They were down to 10 men. And I think they scored when they had 10 men.
That is correct. I think the red card was late in the first half, and I think they
Yep.
score even later in the first half, and then they basically held
Yeah.
Villa off the whole second half.
Which is unbelievable. I mean, you're talking about a Villa attack that's been so dynamic the last few months, been scoring at free will. Ollie Watkins has looked like his old self. I mean, to shut that down with 10 men with the expectation of what Brentford were supposed to be this season, I just think it's fantastic. And hats off to Keith Andrews with what he's done with Brentford this season. I mean, from
Yeah,
being a set piece coach to pretty much showing up Thomas Frank completely and what Thomas Frank did there, that's a big deal.
it is. I mean, so let's move on to your underdog. Who is it this week?
Yeah, Dad, mine I think is a little unconventional as well, but there wasn't that many big upsets this past week, and I kind of wanted to take mine back to Spain. Real Sociedad, a team Arsenal has frequently bought from or had players play for. They were really, really struggling this season, Dad. I believe they were down near the relegation zone, I think 2 points above it about a month ago, which is unheard of. The past 5 of 6 years, they've been in the top 6. So this is
Right.
a high performing club right at the bottom. But then Pellegrino Matarazzo, New Jersey born US manager, comes in. They're 5 games unbeaten, Dad, since he's come in, with a win against Barcelona in the league as well. I just think what a fantastic little turnaround the past month has been. So maybe not an underdog of the week, but an underdog of the month, could we call it?
Sure,
Eh.
whatever you want, buddy.
I mean, Dad, what do you think? I mean, I think this says a lot for the US game and for Real Sociedad, don't you think?
So, I got to be honest. I know nothing about this manager, but that's not shocking. Is this his first gig in Europe, or I mean, do we know
I'd
where
have
else
to
he's
dig
coached?
back into his past. He's had other jobs. He's not young. I think he's in his 50s or late 40s.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's like some 30-year-old breaking onto the scene. It's
No, no, I didn't get that sense, but
Yeah, no, he definitely has experience. He was brought up for the USMNT job from a few sources a while back. I don't know if he got interviewed when that whole process was going
what
on.
when Pochettino got hired that time?
Yeah, he was some outlets reported him at least. So people
Okay,
knew of him.
so he's not like completely off the radar by any means.
No, teams are definitely taking into account and aware of what he's done, which is I think why Sociedad went and hired him. They saw his track record and were like, "Listen, this guy is getting touted for international jobs. He might be the guy to turn this around for us." And he's been doing that, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
a win against you beat the top team in the league already.
Hey, that new manager bounced. They've got it now. Let's see if he can continue it.
Yeah, absolutely, Dad. I think that's the biggest thing is the consistency, but we'll hope the best for Real Sociedad. They always give us a good deal at Arsenal, so uh, hopefully they continue to make some good prospects over there and keep chugging up the table. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Dad, great underdogs this week.
Sorry, had to turn the old fireplace off.
Oh, you're good. Getting a little toasty there. It's all
A little
good.
toasty here.
Ooh, no fire hazards. We don't need the whole chair lighting on fire when you go away there.
No, we're good. We're good.
All right, great. Well, VAR You Serious moment of the week, Dad. Manchester City. We're talking about them again because Rodri and Pep can't stay out of the media, seemingly here, Dad. And I don't need to go into too much detail. I'm sure people have been paying attention. But after that 2-2 draw with Spurs, Rodri claimed people don't want City to win. After a controversial goal that was allowed by VAR, Rodri insinuated the refs and other people don't want them to win, which is funny considering some of the things that you look back on in their past and reffing decisions going their way. Um, but then you have Pep Guardiola saying a couple of interesting things. A day ago, Pep Guardiola joked and sarcastically said how City are seventh in net spend, saying they need to spend more. Now, this kind of was more of a joke, but still seems a little odd. And then one more time, Pep also essentially, what did he come back and say? Now I'm losing my notes here because I thought he said more. But Dad,
Well, he
there's a lot
talked
of
about,
desperation here.
I think today, or I'm sorry, yesterday, whichever day, he talked about the fact that Gahey isn't allowed to play in the Carabao Cup final or the semifinal yesterday. And if you spend a lot of money, then you should be able to play. I mean, dude, come on. You know the rules. This is what happens. It happens to every club. There's no conspiracy against Manchester City. I got to say, it's interesting. Like, City, and maybe the turnover that you mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode at City, maybe they aren't the squad in some ways that they once were, because I don't recall a time where City have complained and whined 3 times in the last 4 or 5 days. That to me
Yeah,
shows weakness,
it's
right?
desperate for sure.
And we had talked about how they were kind of on a roll, picking up 2 guys in the transfer window, including Gahey. Um, and to come out and say this and complain like this, to me, is pretty uncharacteristic. So to me, it shows weakness. I think they know they are chasing Arsenal. They're chasing everything, because otherwise they wouldn't complain, especially the Carabao Cup final thing in Gahey. That's just ridiculous. ridiculous for Pep to even bring up.
Well, totally. And I think going back to last season when City kind of knew they were out of the title race a bit, right? Um, Liverpool were going to win the league. Like everyone kind of knew
Yeah. Yeah.
after January, right? You
Yeah.
saw Pep get a little anxious about certain things, but never like targeted. So for all of this to hit in 1 week, when Rodri comes out and says people don't want them to win, well, probably true. You've won about 20 trophies in the last 10 years. Like, yeah, probably overwhelmingly majority don't want you to win. But to target that at the refs, I think is ridiculous. First of all, every team gets bad reffing decisions. It's how the game works, right? But then also, he's said before how Arsenal in the past have not had the mentality to win the league or win a trophy. This seems like a wavering mentality and position of confidence on their part.
Absolutely. I think City really, I mean, I watched the first half of that City Tottenham game, where City dominated that first half. And in fact, I had something to do. And so I was like, I felt, yeah, this game's over. Tottenham's not playing well. And I think it really impacted City's psyche. Having Tottenham come back, tied up 2-2, controversial goal or not, I think it really messed with their psyche. They probably were like me. They probably thought, hey, we have this. We can be on cruise control.
Yep.
And so Tottenham, who we've talked about, has not been playing well in the Premier League, came out and did what they had to do. And so we've already said this. There's more competitive teams this year in the Premier League than any time in the recent past. You cannot take anyone lightly. Even Tottenham, who's in 14th place or something like that,
Yeah.
you simply cannot take anybody lightly, even for half a game. So I think there needs to be some reflection on the part of City and taking a little bit of accountability and saying like, hey, still don't like that call, but we should have done X, Y, and Z to not even let it come to that.
Well, and based off of that first half, to your point, Dad, the Spurs game is a prime example, like you said. I mean, City could have been up 4-0, 5-0 in the first half.
Oh yeah.
You can always blame something else other than yourself, and that's in life, like we've talked about, right? You can always blame someone else or something else, and that's what City's doing, to your point. They could have won that game if they kept the foot on the gas pedal. You were literally playing a Spurs team that I think had maybe 12 fit senior players. That's how many injuries they have right now, to be
Yeah.
fair to Spurs,
Yeah.
right? Makeshift backline. Romero, their captain, comes off at halftime. So Spurs arguably get weaker going
Yep.
into the second half and turn the game on its head. And honestly, I was surprised Spurs didn't win the game. They looked 10 times better than City in the second half. Looked like they were going to get a third goal. And I think it's like, look at yourself in the mirror. Like, if you're these champions that win everything, maybe Pep and Rodri need to go into the bathroom together and look in the mirror together, because I think it's a little
I thought you were gonna
ridiculous.
say something else about them going to the bathroom together, but we
I
won't
mean,
go.
I wouldn't be surprised there either. I don't know what they enjoy, and that's totally fine, whatever they like to get up to. But I mean, it just seems like they need to take a step back, because I think putting themselves in this media attention is what throws you off, right? And they had a good result today, but still, I
Yeah.
don't see it completely, you know?
No, it is a sign of weakness, which I'm not used to seeing from City. I don't recall, but for sure, but I don't think Arsenal blamed refs or complained when they lost to Villa at the death and when they lost to Man U at home. I don't think you and I complained about anything. In fact, I think I gave them props. I was disappointed, but I didn't blame anybody else. Arsenal could have done some things differently, and that's on them. So for
Yeah.
City, who usually would be like that, for City to come out and start grasping at everything. Oh, no one wants us to win. The refs don't want us to win. Net spend is not fair. Carabao Cup rules are not fair. Dude, like, what are you doing?
Well, it's like, what's not fair about you guys spending 430 million pounds in the last calendar year. I'm sorry, like no one's gonna feel sorry for you when you're buying the best players in every
Well,
position.
and what did they just spend in January? A
I
lot,
mean,
right?
almost 100 mil, at least maybe 100 million,
I
right? They
mean,
spent 65 million on Semenyo and I think 30 million on Gahey.
and did anybody else in the Premier League spend that much in January?
No, nowhere close. And by the way, that means they bought the best on the market center back in the Premier League that could have gone to Real Madrid after
Yep,
this year, right?
sure.
Like one of the best center backs in the world. And Semenyo, who's the third top goal scorer in the Premier League, $65 million pound release clause, right? Like all this to then be this desperate. Like this is what Arsenal used to do. This is what
Yep,
Arteta and Arsenal used to do,
correct.
which is why we never made it through. So maybe Roger is right. We didn't have the mentality in the past. Well, clearly now there's a 180 flip on what's going on right now.
As of now, I would say that's a fair thing to say. Absolutely. And, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe this is sort of a blip in the road, rough week, and then City kind of move on. But it does give you a little insight. And I'm sure it's not just Rodri and Pep that are feeling this way and thinking this way. By the way, um, when are those 115 charges going to be dealt with? Right? I think reporters should be asking Pep and Rodri about that.
Yeah. And listen, all alleged until there's something that comes out. I'll say that, right? Like due process, but due process is the clock's ticking. It's been way too long now. It'd be nice to hear something one way or another. Maybe that's why they're getting so desperate because maybe something's coming. We don't know.
Well, I was thinking that, and I got to be honest, at this point, I mean, they should have announced whatever decision back in like November, December. Good God, they have to have an answer by now. And at this point, since they haven't done it, and the fact that both Arsenal and City are alive in all four tournaments or competitions, I don't want them to say a word until the season's over,
Yeah.
because then Arsenal, whoever, gonna have to hear forever. Well, you didn't win the Premier League, or you won the
Because
Premier
of the
League.
asterisk.
I don't even want to hear that. And if City's going to complain about Carabao Cup rules, oh boy, what's going to happen if those punishments, if there's punishments, come down for the 115 charges?
I mean, I thought Mikel Arteta complaining about the ball in the Carabao Cup last season would be the most ridiculous thing I've heard from a manager. But for a manager to say they're going to send a note in to the League Cup to try and get Gahey in for the final is about the most weak, desperate thing I've heard for a guy who's spent his whole career spending money to get what he needs. So, as you said, Dad, I think there's a lot on the horizon for City, and hopefully it comes at the end of the season, right? But for now, game on. I think, I want to see City play well, and I want to see it go all the way to the end, right? Like let's see some good football at the end of the day without being biased, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm right there with you. So we shall see. La,
We didn't give a verdict. I'll give a yellow card. I don't think it needs to be anything crazy.
I probably won't even give a card. It's more just like, all
Just
right,
dumb.
yeah, just dumb, and like you've actually lost some competitive advantage to some extent. Like Arsenal can look at that and be like, all right, these guys are they've just bought two great players and they're still feeling the heat. So that probably helps teams like Arsenal and Villa and Man U and so on.
Absolutely, Dad. Absolutely. But like you said, we'll see kind of how this plays out the rest of the season. But anyways, we are on to parting shots to wrap up this episode here. And Dad, I'm going to start off by saying who's going to win the big match this weekend? Liverpool against Man City at Anfield.
Well, I mean, my immediate reaction is City are going to win it. Liverpool is not who they were a year ago. Um, they're a great team still. I still expect them for some reason to go on a run. I just feel like they're going to go on a run, not necessarily a run to win the league because they're 14, 15 points off, but it is at home. So I think City win this 2-1.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think it can go either way, but we'll see. Like you said, Dad.
Can Dortmund still catch Bayern with a 6-point gap?
I mean, I think yes, right? Like 6 points isn't insurmountable. I didn't realize it was that small of a lead in the Bundesliga right now. So I'm going to say yes, Dortmund can still catch Bayern. I just think it's unlikely given Bayern's track record, but I hope Dortmund does it. So we'll see. Anyways, another big match on Saturday early morning here, Dad. Can Spurs stop Manchester United's winning run?
They can. They won't. Obviously, coming off that draw with City, that's impressive, but it took that amazing scorpion kick goal to get it done in the end. I don't think they're going to have that kind of luck this weekend. Man U's hot, so I think Man U wins that match.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll see.
Okay, who has been the surprise player of the Premier League season?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'm going to say Bruno Fernandes, which I think is a weird answer. But listen, the guy has 12 assists and 7 goals this year for United.
Wow,
United's attack has been
Ooh,
top assister in the league
wow.
right
Okay,
now.
I didn't know that.
I'm going to go out on a limb. Even if Man United finish the season in the top 3 somehow, I think Fernandes could win PFA Player of the Season even without winning anything.
Oof.
I honestly think he's been unreal for United this season in that attack. And, nothing against other attacking mids, but I would have loved to have him at Arsenal right now with what he's doing at United because he's been ridiculous. And think about it. He had Amorim for half the year and he's still putting up those numbers.
Right.
Makes you think.
Okay.
Anyways, Dad, some exciting games out in France. But will PSG drop points this weekend against Marseille in the derby?
I I'd be willing to bet on that. I think a draw is definitely possible. Didn't Marseille just beat PSG this month or January?
Maybe
And
in the
and I
cup.
believe and they drew with them earlier or vice versa. I can't remember, but I feel like Marseille have played PSG well this year. And so I think a draw is I don't know what the statistics are. I'm sure PSG is favored to win this game. But I think a draw is absolutely in the cards.
Hey, let's keep Lens in the title race. That's my hope. That's my hope, but we'll see.
All right, and last parting shot of the week. Should Arsenal sign Bournemouth's Eli Jr. Krupi?
Oh man, hell to the yes. If I was a sporting director, I would buy this guy immediately. Every time I watch him play, he has such an unbelievable strike on him and he always finds a goal. Dad, 19 years old. He's scoring 0.92 goals per 90, and he has 8 goals in the Premier League in 781 minutes. So firing at a ridiculous rate. I think he could be a long-term option. Now, is Arsenal going to be willing to spend probably 70 to 80 million on him? I highly doubt it, but hell yes, I would tell Arsenal to sign him in a heartbeat.
Even would Bournemouth actually sell him after selling Semenyo?
They've sold so many now that you'd think they might not, but I think if the right price comes in, there's always a sale to be made,
Absolutely.
So I doubt it happens, but I'd love to see him. I think, French striker, you always get the thought that there could be something special there, but doubt it happens.
All righty. I think that takes us to the end of the podcast this week.
It does, Dad. What a great episode. Lots of talk about Manchester City and the Premier League. And, it's been such a crazy season so far, but I know we're enjoying covering it, and I hope you guys are enjoying following along. So make sure to continue to engage. Let us know what you want to see, and tell us what you think about some of these topics as well. I know Mike would love to debate you, right, Dad?
But only if you subscribe, like, do all that stuff.
Yeah, you got to be connected in first with the club, that we have going here. So if you do all that, we'll debate you guys for days, and we'll have some good conversations. But everyone, we hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We will all talk to you soon. Everyone have a good one. Bye-bye.